Welcome to the Privacy Report, the show that looks beyond the obvious headlines in digital security. We try to uncover the infrastructure, the hidden risks, and the critical systems that keep your data and your operations safe.
And today, we're getting really fundamental. We're literally connecting the dots between, well, the wall socket and your server rack.
Exactly.
We're discussing this core link,
Mm.
often ignored, between physical power infrastructure, things like, uninterruptible power supplies, system redundancy, and your actual digital security and resilience.
Right. Our mission here is to show you why thinking about electricity isn't just some IT maintenance chore. It's really a non-negotiable part of your security posture.
Yeah, for too long, I think organizations have seen power backup as just insurance, a nice to have. But we're framing it as a frontline defense.
Yeah.
Because the reality now, continuous availability isn't just expected anymore.
No.
It's the absolute foundation for businesses, hospitals, critical infrastructure,
Yeah.
you name it. If that foundation gets shaky, even for a moment.
The whole digital house can come crashing down.
Exactly.
So the big question we're exploring is, how does protecting these physical power components, which feel very analog, right? How does that translate directly into securing digital assets and keeping things running smoothly? We want to look at the immediate fallout, but also the sort of secondary consequences of power instability.
It's a deeper connection than most people think.
And before we dive in, just a quick reminder. If you want actionable tips and analysis based on our discussions, you can subscribe to our email newsletter. It's over at theprivacyreport.net.
Definitely worth checking out.
Okay, let's jump into the scale of this. The stakes. Most people, when they think digital failure, they think hackers, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a software bug.
Sure, yeah, that's the common narrative.
But power interruption, even a tiny flicker, can honestly be far more destructive. We're talking downtime that is incredibly expensive, sometimes physically dangerous even.
It really is the silent killer of resilience. And you're right, it's not usually the big dramatic blackout that lasts for hours.
Right.
Often, it's what we call dirty power. Little fluctuations, voltage sags, micro interruptions that last less than a second.
Less than a second.
Yeah, but for high-speed IT gear, that little hiccup can trigger just catastrophic cascading effects. Corrupted files, system shutdowns.
And when you look at the actual data, the numbers around these events, the financial cost is just stunning. It's not just a few hours of lost work.
Oh, absolutely not. The cost of data center outages has just soared. Sources we looked at indicate that well over 60% of modern data center outages now cost the organizations involved more than $100,000.
Wow. Over half costs six figures.
And it gets worse. If you filter for the really impactful ones where core systems go down hard, 15% of those incidents rocket past the $1 million mark.
$1 million from a power blitz.
Yeah.
That's basically saying that skimping on clean, stable power is like taking on this huge unmanaged operational risk. It's not saving money, it's gambling.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Power stability, especially for anyone needing high availability, think an ER, a trading floor, maybe a manufacturer with just-in-time inventory, it stops being just an IT expense.
It becomes core security.
Exactly. Core security and risk mitigation. It prevents that uncontrolled shutdown that damages files, maybe even hardware. That's often way worse than a planned managed downtime.
Okay, this brings us perfectly to the unassuming hero here.
Yeah.
The uninterruptible power supply, the UPS. Everyone knows it has a battery, right?
Right, the battery backup idea.
But that basic idea really sells its importance short. In a security context, what is the core function of a good UPS?
Okay, so it's number one job, providing that immediate, instantaneous buffer. When the grid fails, even if you have a generator.
Which takes time to start up.
Exactly. There's a gap, maybe a fraction of a second, maybe a few seconds. The UPS bridges that gap seamlessly, instantly. Without that bridge, everything just crashes. Hard stop.
So it's not just a battery backup, it's an instant energy injection, like a capacitor almost.
Precisely. Yeah. But maybe even more importantly, it's a filter. That's the power conditioning role people often miss.
Ah, right. Conditioning.
A good UPS acts like an immune system for your hardware. It stands between the messy, unpredictable grid and your sensitive, expensive digital equipment. It actively filters out voltage sags, power surges, electrical line noise, all that junk. It ensures the current hitting your server or your switch is pure, stable.
Which prevents hardware damage.
And protects against data corruption.
Yeah.
Dirty power is notorious for causing weird, hard to diagnose data errors.
Okay, so there are different types out there. We hear terms like line interactive versus online. Which one really delivers that high-level protection we're talking about, the kind needed for real security?
Right, so for maybe a single workstation, a basic standby, or maybe a line interactive system might be okay. Yeah. They basically switch to battery when the power drops or fluctuates a bit.
The cheaper ones, usually.
Generally, yeah. But for anything mission critical, a server, your main firewall, any complex storage like a NAS or SAN, you absolutely need the online or double conversion UPS, no question.
Double conversion. Why is that the gold standard? What makes it different?
Because it's not just waiting for bad power. It's always working. It continuously takes the incoming AC power from the wall, converts it to DC to charge his battery, and then immediately converts that DC power back into perfect, clean AC power for whatever's plugged into it.
Ah, so the connected equipment never actually touches the raw grid power.
Never. It's constantly isolated by the UPS's conversion process. It gets the cleanest, most consistent power possible. This is vital for things like database writes or, say, complex encryption processes. You can't have those interrupted midstream.
Got it. So the difference isn't just if it provides backup power, but the continuous quality control it performs on the electricity itself. That feels like a huge security upgrade.
It is, a fundamental one.
But okay, let's be real. Even the best double conversion UPS is still a physical thing. A box. It can fail. It needs maintenance. Batteries die eventually.
True. Single point of failure.
So how do we engineer a system that actually plans for that anticipates the physical failure of the UPS itself?
That's exactly when we move from just having insurance like a single UPS into true physical resilience. We start designing for redundancy. The key principle is fault tolerance.
Fault tolerance, meaning?
Meaning the failure of any single component, whether it's a battery, a cooling fan in the UPS, or maybe the entire UPS unit, should not cause the system it protects to fail. The load keeps running.
Okay. And we hear very specific terms for this in the data center world, right?
Yeah.
N+1, 2N. Can you break down the practical difference? What do those actually mean?
Sure. So N is the number of components you absolutely need to run the load. Could be UPS units, could be cooling units, whatever.
Right. The minimum requirement.
N+1 means you install N plus one extra unit, +1. So if you need 3 UPS modules to power your rack, N+1 means you install 4. If one fails, or you take one offline for maintenance, the +1 unit takes over the load seamlessly.
Okay, that makes sense. One spare.
It's efficient, covers most common failures or maintenance scenarios. Very common.
And then there's 2N.
2N is, well, it's double everything. 2 entirely independent systems. 2 separate power rooms, maybe. 2 completely separate sets of UPS systems. 2 separate electrical wiring paths from the utility all the way to the servers. Each system, A and B, must be capable of carrying the entire load on its own.
Wow, okay. That sounds expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
And it takes up significant physical space. But it's the standard for what we call Tier 3, and especially Tier 4 data centers, places where downtime is just completely unacceptable. Think financial exchanges, critical government systems. That 2N approach definitely sounds like overkill for, say, a medium-sized business. Where's the practical line? How do most organizations decide between necessary N+1 and what might be, I don't know, costly paranoia with 2N?
Yeah, that's the core budgeting and risk assessment question, isn't it? N+1 protects you against a single component failure or allows for planned maintenance without interruption. You take UPS A1 offline, A2 and A3 keep running, and the +1 unit picks up the slack. It's pragmatic.
Right.
2N protects against a much larger failure, a fire in power room A, maybe, or a major human error taking out an entire bank of UPS units. For most regular businesses, N+1 is the sensible, necessary step for critical loads.
Yeah.
2N is really reserved for those environments where regulations demand near-perfect uptime, or where the cost of even, say, 5 minutes of downtime is just astronomical and dwarfs the extra infrastructure cost.
It's fascinating how it's not just about the UPS units themselves, but the entire path the power takes.
Yeah.
You also mentioned dual power feeds earlier. How does that fit in?
That's the crucial link down to the actual equipment. Modern servers, storage arrays, core network switches. The good stuff are designed with 2 power supply inputs.
Right. You see 2 plugs on the back.
Exactly. And that's not just for show. The idea is you connect input A to your A power system, maybe UPS system A. And you connect input B to your completely separate B power system, UPS system B.
Following that 2N or maybe a robust N+1 design?
Precisely. So if system A fails entirely or you need to do major maintenance on it, the server or switch or whatever just keeps running, drawing power cleanly from system B through its second power supply. No interruption, no need for an external transfer switch at that level. The redundancy is built right into the device.
Okay, that paints a clear picture.
So when we architect this, you might picture the utility power coming in, maybe a backup generator too, feeding two independent UPS systems, let's call them A and B.
Okay.
But both A and B then deliver clean power, perhaps via separate circuits, to your racks, and your critical servers plug into both the A circuit and the B circuit using their dual power supplies.
Layer upon layer.
Exactly. It's a layered approach. If you need to maintain UPS A, UPS B keeps everything humming.
Yeah.
If the utility fails, the generator kicks in and feeds both A and B. You're designing around the certainty that something will eventually fail, not just hoping it won't.
That mindset shift seems key, designing for failure, not just reacting to it.
That's resilience engineering in a nutshell.
Okay, let's really tie this directly into the core concepts of information security. We talk about the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, availability.
The pillars, yes.
Availability is the obvious one, hit by a power outage, right? Systems down, it's not available.
Clearly, that's the immediate impact.
But how does power instability, even those short blips or dirty power, directly undermine integrity and confidentiality?
Integrity gets destroyed almost instantly in an abrupt power loss. Think about complex operations, writing to a database, updating a file system index, maybe rebuilding a RAID array.
Right, things happening in memory or mid-write.
Exactly. If the power cuts out right then, the system loses track. It doesn't know where it was. The result is often corrupted file tables, incomplete database transactions, sometimes even physical damage to storage media if heads crash. A controlled, graceful shutdown, which the UPS enables.
By giving the system time to finish and shut down cleanly.
Yes, that prevents this kind of integrity loss.
Okay, integrity makes sense. What about confidentiality? That usually feels like an encryption thing, or access control. How does power affect that?
It connects through system stability and configuration. Imagine a sudden, uncontrolled power loss corrupts the firmware on a critical device, say your main firewall or a core router.
Okay, yeah, that could happen.
That corruption might force the device into some weird recovery mode on reboot. Or worse, maybe reverts to an old, insecure default configuration because its current config got scrambled.
Ah, so the rules enforcing confidentiality could just vanish.
Potentially, yes. If the policy that segments traffic or enforces encryption gets wiped or bypassed during that uncontrolled restart, you have an immediate, potentially invisible security vulnerability. Confidentiality is compromised. And think about timing, too. When power flickers back on, network devices don't all restart at the exact same speed.
Right, some boot faster than others.
So you might have a temporary window where your servers are back online, but your firewall or your intrusion detection system hasn't fully loaded its policies yet. It's momentarily blind or operating with default rules.
A perfect window for an attacker.
A perfect window for an attacker who might be watching for exactly that kind of instability. So power stability isn't just about preventing crashes. It's about ensuring your security baseline, your configurations, your policies remains operational and consistent through a power event.
That's the crucial link. Physical resilience directly enables digital integrity and even confidentiality. It's not just about uptime.
Precisely.
Okay, this is great context for large systems,
Yeah.
but for, the vast majority of our listeners who aren't running tier 4 data centers, talk about 2N redundancy, separate power rooms. It can feel a bit overwhelming.
Sure. It sounds like enterprise overkill.
How do these high-level principles translate down? How do they apply to a smaller operation? Maybe a small office server closet, or even an enthusiast with a serious home lab setup. Lots of critical personal data on a NAS.
The principles scale down perfectly. Because, like we said, power continuity planning is fundamentally risk management.
Right.
You're just acknowledging that failure will happen eventually, and you're engineering mitigations that are proportionate to the risk you're willing to accept for your specific setup. The core ideas remain the same.
Okay, so let's make it really practical. Can we give the listener some immediate, actionable steps, things they can do right now based on these bigger concepts?
Absolutely. Let's break it down into maybe 5 key steps for scaling resilience in smaller environments. First, prioritize your loads.
Yeah.
Be absolutely ruthless about this. Don't waste your UPS battery capacity keeping, a printer or a desk lamp alive.
Right.
Identify the critical devices that must stay online for at least a few minutes to allow for graceful shutdown. Typically, that's your internet router, your main network switch, your NAS or primary file server, and maybe your critical workstation if you need to save work. Everything else, just put it on a good surge protector.
Okay, step 1, prioritize. What's next?
Second, adopt tiered protection. Simple layering. Even for your most critical device plugged into the UPS, plug it into a high-quality surge protector first, and then plug that surge protector into the UPS outlet.
Ah, double protection.
Exactly. You're creating multiple, overlapping lines of defense against voltage spikes, surges, and line noise before it even hits the UPS's own filtering. Belts and suspenders.
Nice. Okay, number 3?
Third, test regularly. This is the one almost everyone skips, but it's so critical.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all are. But UPS batteries degrade over time, and they don't always give you a clear warning before they fail. You must conduct regular tests, maybe quarterly. Actually unplug the UPS from the wall.
Simulate an outage?
Yes. Ensure your critical devices actually ride through the power transition smoothly. And crucially, confirm that any automated shutdown scripts you've configured on your servers or NAS actually work. Do they trigger correctly when the battery hits the low threshold? That graceful shutdown is your absolute last line of defense for data integrity.
Okay, test, test, test. Got it. Number 4.
Fourth, leverage dual power inputs if your gear has them. Even some higher-end consumer or prosumer NAS devices now come with dual power inputs, just like servers.
Right, I've seen those.
If your equipment has 2 inputs, use them. Don't just plug both into the same UPS, that defeats the purpose. Connect each input to a physically separate UPS unit if you can. Even 2 smaller UPS units is better than 1 big one in this scenario. You're basically mimicking the 2N principle at a micro level for your most critical device.
Smart. Maximum resilience for that key component. And the last one.
Fifth, monitor and log. Modern UPS units are pretty smart. They're not just dumb batteries anymore.
They have USB or network ports.
Exactly. They can report on incoming voltage quality, estimated runtime, battery health, current load, lots of useful data. Use that. Connect it to your server or NAS. Set up logging. Integrate those UPS health alerts into your general system monitoring, if you have it.
So you get warned before it fails.
Precisely. If you see logs showing constant voltage fluctuations or the battery health percentage suddenly dropping fast, you can proactively investigate or replace the UPS unit before the next power outage hits and takes you by surprise. Proactive maintenance is fundamental security.
That focus on testing and logging really drives it home. It shifts the mindset, doesn't it? From just passively hoping the electricity stays on
Right.
to actively guaranteeing the quality and continuity of the power flow, which in turn guarantees the integrity of our digital systems.
You got it. You're transforming your power infrastructure from just being utility, something you plug into an active, manageable security control.
Okay, as we wrap this up, thinking about this whole journey from the wall socket to data integrity, maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on.
Yeah. How about this?
Lay it on us.
In this whole pursuit of digital resilience, the ultimate goal isn't just about buying enough battery time until the power comes back on.
Okay.
The real goal, the ideal state, is to create systems so inherently stable, so well-conditioned and redundant that the random fluctuations of the external grid become almost irrelevant to your internal digital operations. You engineer the instability out.
That's a powerful distinction, moving beyond reactive backup to proactive engineered strength,
Wow.
making the outside chaos not matter.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for walking us through this. It's a critical link, literally, that doesn't get enough attention.
My pleasure. It was a great discussion.
And thank you all for tuning in. If you found this conversation valuable, please do take a second to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps others find the show and ensures you won't miss our next analysis. Finally, just a quick note for transparency. This discussion was made with the assistance of AI. We'll catch you next time on the Privacy Report.